We've been lucky enough to attract a couple of the top geological minds in the business to this project. David Broughton and Kevin Bonnell are now part of our team. They've done it before. They've done it over and over again. Some of the biggest copper deposits on the planet. And now we've got them driving our Solwezi project forward.
Yep, that's the spoiler, and I make absolutely no excuses for not alerting you to it before this video started. That's because this is huge news, the kind of information that investors need to know, and they need to know its implications. This is the next huge leap forward in the story of the Midnight Sun copper mining project that we're following in near real time. And we've created this video series so you can stay close to the action and get ahead of the crowd when it comes to one of the most exciting investment opportunities in this space. So let's get back up to speed with what they're up to, which, as you remember, is a potentially enormous new copper mining project.
Midnight Sun's properties consisting of 4 targets. We've got Dumbwa, Kaziba, Crunch, and Mitu. Each of those 4 targets has the potential to host a billion-ton dome-style sediment-hosted copper deposit. But on top of that, we have an unbelievably unique opportunity to deliver oxide copper from our property to First Quantum's Kansanshi mine, giving them an opportunity to neutralize acid and unlock significant cash flow for Midnight Sun. Just a few months ago, we closed a $10 million financing, a financing that started out at just $3.5 million and was oversubscribed due to overwhelming interest.
Let's just pause for a moment to take all this in. 4 different mining sites, a completely separate income stream in the form of supplying First Quantum with copper oxide, and already Midnight Sun has oversubscribed financing from investors. So what's next?
We're going to be working on 2 things. A large sediment-hosted copper target, working with cobalt metals to define that. That's called Dumbwa. We're also going to be working on an oxide copper target on 2 different parts of our property to define resources that'll be destined for the Kansanshi mine, First Quantum's flagship asset. So with the money in hand, we've finally announced that we've kicked off a program at Kaziba. Kaziba sits just 6 kilometers away from the Kansanshi mine, which of course is First Quantum's flagship asset. And we have a target there, 300-meter wide footprint, an area with 31 drill holes that averages well over 1% copper at surface. And we're going to go there and try and define resources that we can get to the Kansanshi mine. And at the same time, we're waiting for Cobalt Metals to kick off their program on our Dumbwa target to define a large sediment-hosted copper target. And we're going to see just how big that is and if it is indeed the next billion-ton deposit in the Domes region.
Things are definitely happening on site and the whole place is buzzing with activity. But it's what's happening behind the scenes that might be of most interest to investors. You see, within mining, there's always someone somewhere shouting about a potential new deposit or discovery, but it's a very small world, and the big guns, the real experts, the ones who've done it again and again, they seem to have a sixth sense about which are the mines that will deliver. They hunt for the big opportunities, and when they see one that looks like the real deal, they jump on it. And that is just what's happened to Midnight Sun.
One of the most exciting things to us is the people that we've managed to attract. And we've been lucky enough to attract a couple of the top geological minds in the business to this project. I'm talking about David Broughton and Kevin Bonnell. So to understand why we're so excited about having Kevin Bonnell and David Broughton back together again, you have to wind the clock back 20 or 30 years. Freeport-McMoRan, one of the largest copper companies in the world, was a large exploration force in sub-Saharan Africa. And 2 of the key geologists on their team were David Broughton and Kevin Bonnell. But 20 years ago, Freeport made an important decision. They decided to pull out of Africa entirely. They left the continent, And those two geologists both went different directions. David Broughton became the chief geologist for Ivanhoe, and he made the discovery of Kamoa-Kakula, a 1.4 billion ton monster at 3% copper. Kevin Bonnell became an independent geologist. He also made a number of discoveries, 5 or 6 in fact, of some of the biggest copper deposits in the general area around where we're working. Kevin and David are back together. Kevin with Midnight Sun, David with Cobalt Metals. You've got two of the brightest and best known geological minds in sediment-hosted copper on the planet working on these projects.
This is huge. I mean, it's all very well you or I sitting behind our desks, looking at charts, reading press releases and doing our online research. But when two of the biggest names in the industry and who are there on the ground get together behind a project like this, then you know that it must be special. If you're a potential investor in copper, and many people are jumping into this space right now, then you've really got to know who these guys are and why their involvement with Midnight Sun has created such word of mouth and excitement. Let's start with Kevin.
Four years ago, Barrick was working on Lumwana. So Lumwana, of course, is located just beside us on the west side of our property. It's 1 billion tons of 0.55% copper. But Barrick paid nearly $8 billion for the Lumwana deposit, and they purchased it from Equinox 15 or 20 years ago. For 15 years, Barrick worked on Lumwana. They tried to take it from a tier 2 asset to a tier 1 asset. They couldn't figure it out. They couldn't unravel the geological secret of Lumwana. So 4 years ago, they approached Kevin Bonnell and asked him to come in with a very simple mandate: turn Lumwana into a tier 1 asset. Kevin was up for the challenge. He joined Barrick's team. He put together a team of 3 geologists, and he set about working on Lumwana. Within 4 years, Kevin not only turned Lumwana into a tier 1 asset, Kevin managed to put together decades upon decades of reserves at Lumwana. He discovered something called Lubway, a satellite deposit, and of course Barrick has just recently announced an $80 million feasibility study for Lumwana that could just make Lumwana the biggest deposit in the belt. That's all thanks to the discovery made by Kevin Bonnell, turning Lumwana into a tier 1 asset. At Dumbwa, he sees the same thing. We've got a 20-kilometer long soil anomaly at 0.73% copper. That's ore grade copper in soil. He saw the potential for something just like Lumwana. And Kevin is now Midnight Sun's chief operating officer. He's running our program at Kaziba, he's running our program at Me2, and he's our geological seat at the table as we move Dumbwa forward.
Whoa! No wonder Dr. Kevin Bonnell is fated within the mining industry. This man can pick and choose wherever he wants to work. Everybody seems to want him on their team. And what did he choose? He chose Midnight Sun. That is significant. So what about David Broughton?
David Broughton spent the last 14 years at Ivanhoe. He discovered Kamoa-Kakula, and he led the pre-feasibility study at Kansanshi, which unlocked the deposit and took it from a small, high-grade deposit to a tier 1 asset and Africa's largest producer, located less than 6 kilometers away from our property. Well, 7 or 8 years ago, David Broughton got in touch with our team and they keyed up a lunch. You gotta keep in mind, this is taking place at a time when copper prices were low, markets were difficult, things were really tough. But we were one of the only junior mining companies that actually had property in the heart of the Domes region. And at the end of that lunch, David looked at our team and he said, listen, I'm gonna level with you guys. I don't know how you got this property. I don't know how you pulled it off. This is an area dominated by majors. It's not a place a junior mining company would typically be, but for some reason you guys are here. And I'm gonna tell you, you have one of the top targets in Zambia. You've got one of the top properties. So whatever you do, sell your house, mortgage your house, do whatever it takes. Don't lose this project. Hang on to it. It's gonna pay off one day. So here we are, 8 years later. David Broughton joins Cobalt Metals, becoming their chief copper geologist, and the first thing he does is recommend Dumbwa, our top target, the same target he referred to 8 years ago. And we end up with an earn-in with Cobalt Metals and Dr. David Broughton running the program. We couldn't be more excited.
Could it get any better? This is just the most unbelievable combination of talent and experience. Two guys with a stellar track record who are now combining forces again because they see the potential in Midnight Sun's copper mining projects and they want to be on the ground floor. And here's the interesting part. If you can actually believe it could get any more exciting, these guys have already put in place the plans to accelerate and optimise production of the copper oxide that's being sold to First Quantum. And that is just the start.
Kevin sees the same potential at Kaziba that we do, and he's going to go to Kaziba to work on our oxide copper resource. We've got 31 drill holes, very high grade, averaging about 1.3% copper. And he's going to see if that 300-meter footprint can be expanded. He's got a goal of 15 million tons. Kevin has outlined a really simple plan, a plan that's going to get as many tons in place and over to the Kansanshi mine in production as quickly as possible. Me2 is a much bigger target, and Kevin likes Me2 because he sees the potential not just for a large oxide copper resource at surface that we can send to the Kansanshi mine, but he also sees the potential for a large sulfide system, something like we're working on with cobalt at Dumbwa, only at Me2 we own it 100%. So Kevin has a plan, and he's now working on a geological model for how he wants to attack Me2 to get us a resource that'll give Kansanshi 5 to 7 years of production, while at the same time unlocking a large sulfide deposit at depth.
Sometimes in life, all the stars align. Everything just feels right. All the traffic lights go green. Of course, it doesn't happen often, and usually it's only after an incredible amount of hard work and pain that no one ever seems to remember. But every so often, it all comes good. And right now, that's where we seem to be with Midnight Sun. And that's why we love this video series, following their fortunes step by step. Yes, it's been a roller coaster at times, and that's exactly what makes it so compelling. Especially now, when everything has suddenly fallen into the right place.
Kevin and David have discovered deposits all across this belt. They've done it before. They've done it over and over again. Some of the biggest copper deposits on the planet. They see the same potential on Midnight Sun's property that they saw at Lumwana, that they saw at Kansanshi. And now we've got them working for us and driving our Sulawesi project forward. For Midnight Sun, all the pieces are finally in place.